And get the hourglass. Oh, okay. I guess we're live now. Computer doesn't want to cooperate tonight. Good evening. How's everybody doing out there? I hope you're doing well. Tonight's, of course, Wednesday, even 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, which means it's time for yet another live stream. Hey, check out the kids staring out the window at the rain. We got some rain outside right now. How are all of you doing out there? I know my hair's all wet. Been dancing around in the rain for the last little bit. Let's see who's in here. We've got Brian Perendi here, Sassafras Fred, Mary, Vicky. Hello, 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 everybody. Well, the topic for tonight is count your blessings, and no, it has nothing to do with partisan politics. Oh my goodness. We live in an age of wonders. I want to start out by saying this. We live in an age of wonders. The fact that I'm able to sit here in northeastern Oklahoma during the middle of a thunderstorm and talk to a little mostly plastic box that's sitting in front of me with some electronic gizmos in it that transmits a signal using electricity wirelessly to a router through a cable through a distributed network that goes all over the world, so that anybody anywhere can be sitting here talking or watching me as I'm talking to you right now. That's just amazing. The technology that makes it work is amazing. That's a little different tasting. Even though I have a vague idea of how all the machinery is supposed to work, whenever I think about what it takes to make a computer actually function, it just seems like magic to me, even though I know how it's supposed to function. There's Lisa. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Oklahomies. Is that the new term? Age of wonders that we live in. Age of wonders. I got an email earlier today that's just some great news that William Tricker Incorporated has sent me a package, and it's coming through UPS. Now, I don't have the exact arrival date yet, but this is a very special package for me. As you guys may know, we made a trip up to the mountain not too long ago, and we got some water, and there was a sample of water that has all the necessary microbes in it to help jumpstart a functioning aquatic system. And so the package that I got is water chestnuts, and it's on the way. So I'm pretty excited about that. I've got some watercress that the next door neighbor bought back from Tahlequah with him. So we have watercress and we've got some water chestnuts on the way. Now I need some Azolla, and we'll be ready to run to the races. Of course, I think last time I talked to you, I told you that we gotten planaria traps, which are these little glass bottles with holes in. Maybe I didn't. Did I show that to you, or did I just shoot it on video? I can't remember what I've done anymore. So we've got these little glass planaria traps for the flatworms, which were also in that body of water. And it's a parasite. You don't want to drink those, but they're potentially hazardous to the shrimp that we'll be adding to the system later on. So I got the planaria traps, put them in there with a little bit of fish food. We caught some of the flatworms. I've got another trap in there right now, so I swapped them out. And we'll see if we can get rid of the flatworms so that all the little crustaceans will have nice, healthy little lives in there, eating the algae and growing big and fat and sassy. And eventually we can feed them to the larger fish and stuff like that. Or you can always eat freshwater shrimp too. They're tiny, but they're shrimp. See, everybody's saying hello to everybody. So we've started to harvest stuff. I have to tell you about that tea in a minute. We started to harvest stuff from the garden already. I'm going to show you these. These are some that I picked yesterday, and I've already eaten two of them. But we're starting to get our first little strawberries. Of course, green screen makes the bottom of the strawberry disappear, right? We got our little Albion Everbearing strawberries here that we're getting, and oh my, they're good. So first blessing we've got to count here is I've got strawberries just coming up and feeding me. Pardon me for eating in front of you, right? Coming up and feeding me right up out of the ground. I don't have to do anything with them other than spread them around to new places as they multiply themselves. This other thing started coming up this week, and we already harvested. I think we're up to 3, maybe 4 pounds. But after playing around with them for a while, we finally got our wine cap mushrooms to start flushing the way they need to be. And this is off of the little 7-layer garden on the south side of the house. You can see this guy really quickly. This is, of course, when they're best, little tiny buttons. This is a wine cap mushroom, Kingstropharia rugosa annulata, or garden giant is another common name for this mushroom. You can get the mushroom spawn from any reputable mushroom dealer. I got the spawn for these from Northspore. You can get it from Fungi Perfecti, or there's a few other places out there that you could go to. Those are just the ones I have experience with. So, but whenever they're buttons like this, they're perfect. You can see the little annulus, the rough crown at the underside, getting ready to pull away from the gills. Can't really tell the color of the gills there yet, but I can guarantee you they're going to be purple. And I've got Sarsaparilla saying, our wine caps came up so busy, missed about a dozen before they got. Oh yeah, if they get too big, they're not quite as good. You get them when they're still buttons before the caps are fully open, and they're better. But here's one that I didn't get to until a bit later. Here we go. So here's one I didn't get to until a bit later. The white specks on that cap are from the pill bugs, the isopods. Little sow beetles coming along and munching on it because everything wants to eat this. Here we see the rough crown, the annulus is torn away from the gills. There's the underside of the gills, purple gills. It'll make a purple spore print. And of course, you want to wash these and cook them. And don't cook this part here. You can take this bottom part, cut it loose, and plant that out there in your wood chips. That's what these guys grow on. They don't grow on manure. These guys grow on wood chips. So this is the garden giant Kingstropharia rugosa annulata edible mushroom, also called wine cap mushroom. These are coming up right now. And all kinds of other wonderful stuff coming up too. Let me show you. Actually, before I show you, I'm going to tell you a little story. Jasper Red says, I've got no morals. No morals. So I'll tell you a little story. This is when I was a little kid. Now, when I was about 7 years old, my mom packed myself and my two older brothers up. I guess I should probably say my two older brothers and I were packed up by my mother when I was 7 years old. And we moved into the old farmhouse, the old family farmhouse down there on Garnett Street, past 111th on the way to Bixby. It's the old Conrad Farms. And of course, it's a 4-bedroom house, which is considerable. And this was right after my grandmother had sold off about 80 acres of the old farmstead to the Tulsa County Parks Department. And the Parks Department came out there and they set up baseball diamonds and soccer fields and other stuff like that. And we remained living on the 10 acres surrounding the farmhouse where the pond was, or actually the ponds. There's more than one pond up there. There's a big one and the little one. The little one's only about a half an acre or so. The big one's a bit bigger than that. Anyway, that was where the irrigation for the farm came from. It's where the pond was at. Yeah. Anyway, I digress. So they set up these baseball diamonds, and folks would come out there all 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. After it got dark out, they had the big lights on, and my bedroom was in the upstairs section of the house facing south in the direction of the park. And these big lights would come on at night at the baseball diamond, and they would shine from hundreds of yards away, but they were bright enough that just that extra light coming through the window made it hard to sleep. So I was hearing the cracking of baseball bats and the people cheering at the little leaguers running around. And I think there was probably some adult leagues that were using the baseball diamonds too. But I would hear that whenever I went to bed. And I got to thinking, me being about between 7 and 8 years old at this time, that I would like to make a little bit of cash. And we've been up there to the baseball diamonds during the day whenever the games were going on, and they had the concession stands open, and people were coming and standing in line to get a corn dog or package of sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds and soda and stuff like that. And I knew we had all kinds of sunflower seeds around, right? So naturally, being the young entrepreneur that I was, I went and I loaded up my little red flyer wagon with all kinds of wonderful plants. And I took and I potted them up, put them in plants, put in this red flyer wagon. Put all these plants in there, got envelopes and stuffed them full of seeds. We had sunflower seeds, we had daisies, we had everything. All kinds of seeds in there. And I went up, towing this red flyer wagon behind me. And I went up to the baseball diamonds with my red flyer wagon and attempted to sell my plants and my seeds. Of course, this is dandelions. Dandelions and sunflowers and all kinds of things. I figured, well, these are great plants. Everybody should love to have these. And of course, I got a lot of cute kids out of it, but didn't make any sales. I was a little bit upset that nobody really wanted to buy my weeds as it is. But I brought them home, and of course, my grandmother was greatly appreciative. She understood exactly what the value is of the things that I was trying to sell. That the people that were attending the baseball games are willing to pay a couple of dollars for a little pack of roasted sunflower seeds, but they have no interest in growing their own, even though they could get all of those and more if they grew their own with a fresh seed that was viable. But Grandma knew what I was trying to do with that stuff, and she appreciated it. She would probably appreciate this little bouquet here. Let me get this get these mushrooms and that strawberry out of the way. Pardon me, I'm going to eat this other strawberry real quick. Vitamin C, guys. Coming right up out of the garden. Okay. Where did I put my... I'm going to put that somewhere. All right, so here's a bouquet. Hope you like it. All right. Probably just selling the wrong weeds, right? Oh, shoot, you can't see this thing. I'm going to disappear for a moment. There we go. You can't see me. Let me turn my virtual background off. Good Lord. There we go. All right. Now, where are you guys? I can't see you. Where are you? Oh, there you are. Hi. Hello, everybody. Hi, Stacey with the Green Country Agroforestry. Coming to you live. Okay. So what do I have here? A bunch of what people would call weeds, but these are the things that grow in the yard. Let me just show them off real quick for you here. The first off is a plant that that my grandmother showed to me when I was very little, and it shows up in the fields. If you grow up on a farm, you're going to have this particular plant in abundance. And actually, a lot of people have this plant growing. It's just most people pull it up or get rid of it or treat it like a weed instead of treating it like a vegetable. This is a vegetable that you didn't have to plant, is what it is. This one's called Podium album or lamb's quarter. All right. For every 100 grams of this plant, the leafy greens of this plant, there's about 260 calories. That's double cheeseburger territory for calories. So this is a Podium album, and I want you to take a particularly good look at this root system. This is a good, strong taproot. There's more to it. This is a young plant. It's going to get bigger. It's going to grow deeper, and this thing likes to get down there and pump minerals out of the subsoil. So having these and letting a couple of them grow and get big is not going to hurt you in the least bit. The leaves can be eaten fresh and green in your salad, or just like that. Not much of a flavor to them at all, especially if you cover them up with a little bit of salad dressing, vinegar and oil, some spices, that sort of stuff. Great in your salad, but you can also cook this up with a little bit of bacon and use it as a powder. All right? So these, if you happen to find one growing wild, let it grow, let it put out seeds, grab the seed head before it drops all its seeds. They're tiny little things, little bitty seeds. Bring it back home, shake it around, and you will start seeing these growing in your yard as well. Let a couple of them grow, get them established, and you will never be without your very own perennial plant that you can grow like spinach, put in your salad, use as a powder, decent amount of calories, fairly decent amount of niacin, vitamin B, etc. Lamb's quarter, Podium album. All right. We are blessed. We are blessed with free vegetables, guys. Free. The earth gives us free vegetables. All you have to do is go pick them, and they're yours. Here's another one. This is another free vegetable. Now, we didn't have these growing in the yard. But you may have seen this fellow growing in a ditch somewhere. You guys recognize this plant? Growing in a ditch? Well, that's where I found the very first one of these that we got into our yard. I had to go out and find it because we didn't have any. Now, if you guys don't know, this guy is Doc. It's a curly Doc. All right, Rumex crispus. And at the moment, it needs to be washed if we're going to harvest that. Now, usually you want to eat the younger leaves here, but really, I've had them. I've had older leaves that are almost as wide as my palm, and they were still good. This one can be eaten raw. Once again, can be eaten raw, but I like to treat it kind of like I treat a collard green or a mustard green or a turnip green. Any of those fresh greens that you like to cut, chop up, and once again, cook up a little bit of oil and spices. That little stem running down the center of the leaf there. If it's big, I'll cut it out. If it's tiny, then I won't worry about it. But the big leaves, yeah, I'll cut that out and just chop those up. A little bit of bacon, a little bit of onions, a little bit of pepper and salt. Good stuff. This is another, yeah, you guessed it, another free vegetable. Nature produces this one for free. It's also sometimes called yellow dock because of the yellow leaves or yellow roots. Sorry. The roots are also used as a mild laxative if you have trouble going to the bathroom and you need to go. You can chop that up and eat that as well, and that will aid you in your quest to relieve yourself. Of course, you get these seeds up here. Later on in the year, these seeds are going to turn dark red. The leaves are going to turn red, and then you can harvest the seeds, sprinkle them around. But it is a perennial. It's going to grow back from that root system every year. And once again, check out that root system. Very prodigious, deep tap roots. It'll get bigger, it'll get deeper, and it'll keep on, once again, pumping up the minerals from your subsoil, bringing fertility to the surface. But people like to take this and treat it like a weed. You treat it like a weed, you pull it up and you get rid of it, then you got rid of the ability to transfer all those nutrients from the subsoil to the surface where your vegetables that you were intending to grow could get a hold of it. So if you find this growing in the garden, unless it's just absolutely in the way, let it grow. It's a free vegetable. You didn't have to plant it. All right. Let me see. In a salad, little ones probably. Like this one here hasn't gotten incredibly dark. It's got a bit of a tart flavor to it because this guy is high in oxalic acid. It's like a sorrel. Has a little bit of a tart flavor to it. I don't really like it green that much. I like it cooked. And whenever you cook it, it takes some of that bitterness out of it too. All right, so that is another blessing that we have. The earth is bringing forth these vegetable plants for us that we don't have to plant or do anything with. Now this one, of course, I'm going to take and transfer to some new place because we have them all over the place. And we've been eating them for the past couple of days. So that's another thing that we got. Oh, I don't know what I'm going to do with this clump here. This plant that was on the side is something that one of the viewers brought to me. I have a sort of an open yard policy. Anybody wants to come by and visit, I've got the grape arbor out there. It's got seating, and bring something to drink or bring the meat with you, and we'll sit down and chit chat and have a good old time. It's a garden party 24/7. Well, at least during business hours. Okay, so somewhere in between 9 in the morning and 5 in the afternoon. All right, so about 2 years ago, Mark from Arkansas Woodcutter stopped by and visited, and he brought this among a couple other plants. But this one is, I look it up on PFAF, and it tells me this is Virginia spiderwort. It's either a Virginia spiderwort, an eastern spiderwort, a prairie spiderwort. In any case, we know it's a spiderwort. It's related to the Asiatic dayflower. Once again, edible vegetable, once again, perennial, and of course, it seeds itself with these really pretty purple flowers, which on this one are not really open at the time, but you might see the flower bud there. They come in profusion, and this time of the year, they're opening up, and the pollinators are coming to visit them and enjoy them. I divided it up and discovered that I've got 22 plants here, so we're getting ready to do some more spreading of this particular plant and get it scattered around the garden. So far I've done cuttings off of this. It takes from cuttings really easily. And the cuttings have also multiplied quite a bit. Medicinally, this plant is used to extract extract the poison from insect bites and stings, and that's why they call it a spider wort. It doesn't attract spiders. It's for treating your insect bites. So if you're keeping bees, you might want to have something like this. The bees like the nectar out of the blooms too. Let me put this thing down. I now have water all over the floor. Pardon me a second here. Let me see what everybody's talking about. I wanted to show you another one of the modern marvels that we have access to in this age of miracles that we're in. But let me catch up with some comments first. All right, who's coming in here? Let's see. We've got Ken Jennings in the house. Look, Ken. All right. Red Scout says, blessings come in diamonds or disguised. Well, a lot of blessings are disguised. And I wanted to talk to you about some of those blessings that we have that are in disguise. For example, our weeds. Now, every year we go out, we plant our gardens. Well, those of us who are gardeners, we plant our gardens, and we struggle to keep our gardens from being overcome by these weeds, these plants that come in and they're crowding out the vegetable plants that we wanted to grow. And these things are big, they're bulky, they're vigorous, and they don't want to stop. Not all of these weeds are a bad thing. As we just pointed out, there's a few things that might be considered weeds here that turns out they're vegetables in disguise. And also, because they have those really massive taproots that go down deep into the soil, whenever you cut those back, instead of throwing or getting rid of those weeds, if instead we lay them on the surface or put them into the compost heap or put them into a barrel, cover them with water and allow them to ferment, we can extract all the nutrients that those weeds have in them and use that to feed our vegetables. So this is a resource, not a problem. A lot of times people see these things and go, oh, this is a problem. I have these weeds. Oh, this is a problem. I have this animal that's coming in. So say, for example, you've got rabbits or squirrels or deer that are coming in wanting to eat your garden. That's meat. That's what it's coming to you. You don't have to go out and find it. It comes to you. That's a nice tea. All right. Ken Jennings with no, that's not Papa Smurf. He's got a white hat. With the Smurf. Red Scout was saying something about the guy who sold his field. Oh, the guy who sold his field had diamonds in it? Let's see. Yeah, I was selling the wrong weeds, says Chris. Red Scout saw it. Peregrine falcon. Too bad you didn't get a video of it, right? Whenever the eagles fly overhead, usually they come along and they come in 50 feet off the ground. They come in low enough that you can count their feathers and you see the little white feathers on their head, white feathers on their tail, massive wingspan. And you go, well, shoot, didn't have the camera. But every time you look and you see the bird flying around, is that a vulture up there or is that an eagle? I can't go running for the camera every time I see a bird on the horizon. All right. Pretty. Oh, we're talking about this. Those lovely plants we got. Cheery Weather said salad greens. Lisa says it's so delicious I can stuff my face with lamb's quarter. It is. I love lamb's quarter. Absolutely love it. Wow, Sassafras says check this out. We have a giant magenta variety coming up. So is it red stem, red leaf, or what all does it have there? Cultivating a red variety. That's nice. Guys sold his field, didn't see the diamonds that were there. Yeah, there's a field out in Arkansas where they search for diamonds. It's now a park, I guess. I don't know about making spinach look like a wimp, but yeah, they've got a lot of nutrition in it. Eric Hill says, hi, Eric. This is true. You can grind the seeds up for flour. I don't know how they taste though. I haven't tried that. Anymore, I like to deadhead them before they go to seed because I have enough. I actually have enough dock now. Whenever I first got the plant, I've been looking at this out by the front driveway. And this is a long time ago. I mean, a long time ago, before we even started planting any of the trees that are out there. So there was a slime mold down there by the driveway close to the street. This was a low spot because at this time we hadn't built the retaining wall. We hadn't done any of the work that we've now done. And this was the low spot where all the water collected. And the slime mold was just spreading across the ground, destroying the grass. Nothing could grow there except for the slime mold, of course, whenever it was wet in the spring, and that just eradicated all the grass and everything. It just looked horrible. And I thought, well, I need to do something about this. What can I do that's going to get rid of the slime mold? And I had been researching my herbs, and I'd read that dock was effective at eliminating fungus. It produces a natural fungus inhibitor. And this makes sense to me because where's dock usually grows? Usually growing in the ditches, in the low-lying areas, places where there's a lot of moisture, and it has these really broad leaves that are, would be really great for a place for a powdery mildew or something else to inhabit. But you never see it succumbing to powdery mildew or other fungal attacks. So obviously it has that capacity to produce its own fungicide or fungus inhibitor. So I thought, okay, if I plant this nearby where the slime mold is taking over, is it going to eliminate the slime mold? And so I went out and I searched, and I found some growing in a ditch not too far away, and brought it back when it was going to seed and scattered the seeds all over the place. And I thought, well, I'll go ahead and plant it because it's a perennial. Maybe the roots will recover from the shock of me having just uprooted it from where it is. And sure enough, it took off, it grew. And then within a couple of years, I'm seeing it all over the property here. And I don't know how it gets around, but it gets around somehow. I planted up in the front next to the driveway. And even though that direction is off down the watershed, it's worked its way back up slope. So it's on the back of the property too. So somehow after having been just taken and moved a little bit and introduced here, it's managed to spread itself all over the property. And of course, this is a pot herb. It's like having some kind of green, like a cabbage or spinach or something like that can just chop up, saute, stir fry, throw in a soup, or do anything that you would ordinarily do with greens. All right, let me see what's going on here. Darren from Down Under Farm and Forage is here. Hey, good day, mate. He's been doing some good work down there. Sassafras Red said, had to borrow a mower from the neighbor. Ours is in the shop. She has a tidy yard. No weeds. Okay, Vicky's saying cooking will neutralize the oxalic acid. Yeah, I've noticed that. After I cook them, they're not bitter at all. They're pretty good. I mean, it's a green. Yeah, it's one of those greens. You chop it up, throw it in the pot, a little bit of fat back, cook it up. Maybe dice a few potatoes, or if you're like us and you don't want to grow the potatoes, you can grow some canna roots. The other night for dinner, we cooked it up along with these guys, right? I'm gonna go ahead and turn the green screen back on if you don't mind. Cooked it up with these guys. I'm gonna use that background. I like that background. Cooked up with these guys, the wine cap mushroom. Whenever they're button sized, they are just about perfect. But you can get away with them getting a little bit bigger where they open up and you can see the purple gills underneath, right? You let them get away with getting a little bit bigger, but not much bigger than this. They'll get huge. Don't get me wrong. They'll get huge, but they're best tasting when they're smaller. All right. Put these guys away. I'm going to have some dinner later on. I've got another flush of them coming up, and since it's raining right now, by tomorrow they're going to be big enough. They're just starting to peek out right now. So by tomorrow they'll be big enough to harvest, and we'll have some more delicious mushrooms for dinner. Lisa says, I love visiting the place. Always such a genuinely good time. Or someone I don't have to bring my dog. Lisa's been by a couple of times. Lisa, are you going to need some of those fig trees that you brought over? Because they survived. I planted a few out there and they survived the winter, which is a great, the great test, right? The very tip ends are green. They're starting to bud out. So that's you weren't kidding. That's a fig that can survive an Oklahoma winter and come back, and you don't have to let it grow back from the roots. I mean, that's exactly what I was looking for. But if you need some, we got a few to share out. I'm not gonna put them up for sale this year, I don't think. Well, I might come winter or so. We might start working on propagating extras. Let's see. That's where I said, a reminder, the one who planted all those weeds didn't consider them weeds at all. Yeah. Let's see. Wrong kind of weeds anyway, right? Yep. Ken says that's supposed to be Happy Smurf. Oh, okay, I see him now. Yeah, that's Happy. Yep. I got called Papa Smurf when I was back in the Navy, so. We can say, learn the definition of a weed was any plant growing where you don't want it. Well, yeah, it's either that or a vegetable that you didn't have to plant. If you know that it's a vegetable, if you know that that's something edible. But dock is perfectly edible and tasty. Heterodox is saying roast them first. The seeds for the dock. Yeah, I imagine you want to roast. If you roast dock seeds, I've heard. Now I haven't done this, but I've heard that you can use them as a coffee substitute. Not because they have caffeine in them, but they have that flavor, right? Yeah. Chewy sends a super sticker. Thank you very much, Chewy. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see. Brian says, I can get it on. Going back out. Check out if you want to see northern Minnesota. Awesomeness. Hopefully you guys are waking up now. Starting to get things growing instead of having to look at snow all the time. Does anyone have an effective response to a honeysuckle invasion? Oh my goodness. Pull up the roots. Uproot the plant or learn to love it. That's it. I mean, kids love it. Bees love it. Butterflies love it. But it does take over everything. It's kind of like the morning glory. I'm probably going to do a video not too long from now. I've been casting about trying to figure out what I want to devote the next video to, and I've got several things in the works that I'm in the midst of shooting, and I don't know which one I want to put forward as the thing that's going to be the next video. But I was watching another prepper channel again, and the guy was showing us these seed packets and what was in them, and talking about how great these seed vault type stuff, and talking about how great the company was that he was getting them from. And he was going through the seeds that were in there, and I noticed that these are, the little thin, you can probably get these for, 50 cents a piece or 3 for $1 at the dollar store type seed packs. It was just a whole bunch of them stuffed into a tin, or not a tin. It was a plastic tub, right? Probably about 100 seed packs in a plastic tub, and they had to spend a lot of money on this thing. These are the big tubs that you see going for like $40-$50 or whatever. And he pulls out the seeds and he's looking through them, and one of them is morning glory seeds. And at this point, I realized that, okay, whoever put these seed packs together, these survival seed banks together, they know what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. They're preying on the naivety and ignorance of their customers in order to make a buck. Is what they're doing. Because morning glory, it's like that honeysuckle. Hey, it's a pretty flower. It's got its uses, but not really much for nutritional value, and it'll strangle out your garden. You're going to be spending the next decade pulling the things out once they're established. Ask me how I know, right? So I put together a list of things I wanted to talk about regarding starting your first survival garden, and I'm probably going to do a video on that not too long from now. I've got them written down and enumerated, and we'll go through the bullet points and everything. And one of the first things, of course, that you're not going to hear is get out of the city. The first thing you need to know about growing your survival garden, get out of the city. Just get out. There's nothing there for you guys. We broke down how much it was going to take to grow enough calories for one person, square footage. And it's a little over 1,000 square feet for enough calories to feed one person. Add in an extra 500 square feet for your extra vitamins and minerals and everything else. You got 1,500 square feet. Now, double that because you're going to need space to walk in between your plants so you can harvest and get rid of the weeds and stuff like that. That's 3,000 square feet of growing space. Now, people who are wealthy in cities might have 3,000 square feet of growing space per person, but that's not most of us. It's not most of us by a long shot. So any way you can find that you can get yourself out of the high population centers where you have to live in apartments and there's no room to grow anything, the better off you're going to be. Because if you have to rely upon growing your own food, you're not going to be able to do it in the city. It's just not going to work, guys. Now, I follow that up by saying forest gardening, planting in layers where each layer is maybe 50% as productive as it could be if that was a monocrop, and you've got 7 layers producing. Do the math. You can produce a lot more food in a lot less space that way, but it takes time. The pecan trees I've got growing, we planted 7 years ago. The hazelnut trees are just going to make hazelnuts this year, planted 4 years ago. We've been getting pears for every year, so that doesn't really count. But you can't live on just pears, right? We're going to get peaches this year. You can't live on just peaches either. So all of that stuff, it takes time. It takes time. So figure out where you want to be, start planting your trees, and then you can deal with the annual garden afterwards. All right. Let's see. Jasper says, Brian, you should eat that squirrel. Did you catch a squirrel? How to deal with honeysuckle. Suck the nectar out of every flower and leave it barren. I think it'll still grow back from that, though. Allelopathy, the plant version of chemical warfare. Okay. Yeah. So Mary planted the morning glories, and Mary planted the 4 o'clock. She wanted pretty flowers, and she got a whole bunch of other pretty flowers and bulbs and things like that. Star of Bethlehems are out there. Those are those little ones that just little tiny thread-like tendrils early in the spring, and then they shoot up a stalk and then have all these little star-shaped flowers in a big central stalk. They're pretty. And then there's these little pink snowdrops that come up, and they're little pink little bell-shaped flowers with sword-shaped leaves coming out. And they're gone now because they disappear for a week or two in the spring and then go poof. Crocuses, grape hyacinths, all that kind of stuff is out there. But the morning glory and the 4 o'clocks really took off, and they're almost impossible to get rid of. If they were good for food, I would love them. But they're not good for food. Sarsaparilla to say, morning glory is awesome for where it came from, but not my yard. Yeah, it takes over. Now, yes, this is true. The Epomia genus, the morning glory family, has sweet potatoes. Oh, actually, I've got some right here. Look at this. Oh, no. I got the green screen on. You won't be able to see them. They're invisible. Okay, here I have the invisible sweet potatoes. I've got the invisible sweet potatoes right here, right? So one of the problems with doing a gardening channel, right? You do a green screen, you can't see anything. All right, so these guys, and I wanted to see how these guys are getting started. There's the tuber here, right? And it's laid outside in the peat moss. Get this camera angle so you can see it. There we go. So we laid the tuber over on its side in the peat moss and half buried it. And as a result, the plant starts to grow there, right? And these here at the end, we've already separated from the tuber. So these are the slips, and I've got 4 of them. I've got 4 of them there, and then this one is developing right now. It's getting its roots. And I've got another one, a 5th one that we've already moved outside. We made a little pyramid because the neighbor likes to tease me. And he said, Next thing you're going to be doing is building pyramids over there. And I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. And on the driveway, on the north side driveway, I took some of our edgers and laid them out in a 5-foot square. And since I had excess soil that bring the squirrel in. There we go. Since I had excess soil built up that I was pulling out to do the ditches, put in the wood chip walkways. I'm putting a trench underneath every walkway, right? So there's a 16-inch deep trench, 8 inches wide beneath every single walkway that we have. As I build the walkway, the trench goes under it. And this means whenever it's raining, like right now, the water will run off the roof. It'll hit the ground. It'll saturate to a certain point, but once it gets saturated enough and it doesn't penetrate the ground anymore, it starts sheeting off. And whenever it sheets off, it gets to that trench, drops into the trench, gets soaked up by the wood chips, and I get to save all that water. But I was digging. Now, this is on the north side of the house. And the soil coming out of there was nice and dark and wonderful organic matter. No clay. It's really good soil. I was like, hell, wow, this is what I want right here. Not this nasty stuff that I'm digging out of the front yard where every couple of feet it's like, oh, there's a chunk of clay. It looks like there's a back before flood control went in and back before this became a residential area, there was probably an island sitting right where we are now on the river bottom. And the east side bank of the island is all clay, and then there's a gravel bar on the west side. I've dug around and found this gravel bar over there underground. And so at some point, this would have been sitting a little higher than everything else around it. And this is part of the reason why we're a little bit higher than all the other property in the area, is because of that clay bank there. But anyway, instead of the nasty clay that I've been digging out of there, I found this nice, rich, dark soil. I was like, well, shoot, what do I do with it? I don't need it for anything right this second. Let me just put it somewhere where I can save it. So I put it there in this corral, and it's 4 inches for these edgers. So I built the corral 5 foot by 5 foot out of these 4 inch tall edgers. And then I came in a couple of feet and I built another set on top of that and filled each one in. So it's now 3 tiers high. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 tiers high. And at the very top of it, we put a Murasaki purple sweet potato at the very top. That's the fifth of the potato slips that we got started. I hadn't really planned on growing potatoes or sweet potatoes this year, but we saw these Murasaki sweet potatoes at the Namhai Oriental Market. Got them, brought them home, tasted. They're delicious. So okay, I'm going to take a couple of them and we're going to get slip started because I would like to grow these myself. And they started. We got them growing. So sweet potato at the top, clover all around it because every time I got bare ground, I have to plant clover. Next tier down, I put in peanuts. So we have 8 peanut plants in the little ring around that. Remember, this is a 5 foot wide square. 8 peanut plants all the way around there. Of course, more clover, all over there. Next tier down, I said, okay, what else do I want to put here? Well, I've got this. Sometimes whenever I order seeds, like from Baker Creek, shout out Baker Creek. Whenever I order seeds, they send me bonus seed packets just because it's like, here's a free gift, have some extra seeds. And it's usually stuff like lettuce, arugula, stuff like that. Things that ordinarily I don't plant. I don't plant lettuce usually. I don't have any use for it. I have enough greens that grow up as volunteers, as weeds that are still edible greens. Daylilies, canna lilies. Now we've got dahlias growing. I have enough. Oh, Rose of Sharon, I forgot about those. The hibiscus syriacus. All of those greens that I've got that I can, edible flowers I can pick and use as salad greens. I don't really need to plant lettuce. But I had a package of this red sativa lettuce, and I've got some butter crunch. And I just did half of it butter crunch and half of it the red lettuce. And I had a pack of arugula that I got for free, so ordering other seeds. So I took that and put those all around there. So it's a blend of different salad greens at the base of it, where it's only about 4 inches of soil. They don't have very incredibly complicated root systems. I mean, they can get pretty deep if you let them grow, but put those in there, and then I put in the clover because everywhere there's bare ground, I have to sprinkle the clover in with this little use a little salt shaker here to do it, simply because the holes on that thing are so big that your fine seeds like clover that you want to broadcast everywhere just get distributed perfectly out of this, and you can just run the shaker over the bare soil, and there you go. You've planted your ground cover. And that's, nitrogen fertilizer and roots in the ground, feeding the soil and protecting it from getting blown away and washed away and all that good stuff. Stops other weeds from coming in. Perfectly fine stuff to be sprinkling around. And I got a call from my daughter. Says, Dad, I want to come home. She's had a breakup with her boyfriend. She wants to come home. She's up in Pennsylvania. Dad, I want to come home. And all right, you can come home. It's fine. You got space for? I said, well, I got to tell you, we've got a couple baby ducklings in your room, but they won't be there for long. And we've got the cot in the living room, so you won't have no place to sleep. And then eventually you can move things around until you have your comfy spot. But she wanted to come home and spend a couple of months with Dad. Where am I at in this story anyway? Okay, we're in the pyramid here. She asks, Dad, can we have chickpeas? I hadn't planted any chickpeas yet. We planted about a year or so ago with one of those can I plant that videos. We used the chickpeas that come. We use the chickpeas that come out of the bags. You go to the grocery store, you get the 1 pound bag of chickpeas, and sometimes you're fortunate you can get these at the dollar store. So it's $1 for a pound of chickpeas. And we wanted to find out, can I plant those? And sure enough, you can. You can take them, you can plant them, they grow, they produce chickpeas. It's 2-4 chickpeas total for plant, maybe. It's not a lot. You get a few chickpeas, but you have to plant a lot of chickpeas to get anything out of it. I said, fine, we'll go ahead and plant some. So I at the bottom, just like the peanuts in the middle tier, I planted chickpeas all around the bottom. So we have this little pyramid with chickpeas at the bottom and assorted salad greens, and then we've got the peanuts, and then we've got the sweet potato at the top, and clover everywhere, and it's going to be lovely, I'm sure. So what's that? Another blessing that we can count. Daughter's going to come home for a while. I'll have maybe somebody help me with the camera, work on skits with me. That'll be fun. It'll be nice to do some more skits. Guys, remember when I used to do skits? Yeah. Y'all got a beef against potatoes? Oh, I don't have any beef against potatoes. Just here in Oklahoma, we go from freezing cold winter, and then when spring arrives, we get a week or two of spring, and then bam, here comes the 80-degree temperatures, and summer's on. Unless, of course, we get a nice mild spring, nice mild summer. We've had that happen before. Last year was really mild, and I probably could have gotten away with growing some potatoes. But potatoes don't like growing whenever the temperature gets over 80 degrees, 85 or so. So we have maybe 30, 40 days, 45 days to grow a potato. From it quit freezing, now I can grow a potato, to it's too hot, the potato doesn't want to produce anymore. So unless I'm growing in the fall, it's kind of hard to grow potatoes here. So I find other things I can grow. Sweet potatoes grow during the warm weather. Cannas grow during the warm weather, and those are nice edible roots that you can grow and eat. I'm going to see if I can get my hands on some mashua and some aka, and maybe do a little hybridization of aka and ornamental purple shamrock. They're both in the oxalis genus. So if I can get those to crossbreed, then I'll have a nice, really ornamental, shade-loving root crop. So an aka that can double as an ornamental and be grown in a shade garden. I think that might be fun. Something to play with. Darren's taking off. All right, Darren, get to work. Yeah, it's nighttime here on this end. Okay, let's see. Everybody's saying hi to everybody. Lisa's saying, I can't believe the others I abandoned in Doc's yard freaking survived. The other fig trees. I've got one that's in a bag that towards the end of the year, I kind of just tossed it. There's a whole bunch of them. I planted out most of the ones that were in bags, and I kept that big tub full. And I haven't done anything with those. I've just been keeping them indoors. But I had one bag that I hadn't got around to planting anywhere. I just chunked it over there to the side of the yard. And went, if it survives, it survives. If not, oh well. I've got tons of them, and they're just growing and multiplying like crazy. And it survived. So this is an incredibly hardy fig tree. It was not even in the ground and it survived outside. Mary's saying, remember, don't buy the fig trees from Atwoods. Well, maybe if you're in zone 8, 9, 10, somewhere south, you can get them. It's supposed to be a hardy fig, but it wasn't really well adapted to growing here. But, it says 7A on paper. It's freezing cold in the winter. It's burning hot in the summer, and when it rains, it's too much rain. Whenever it's dry, it's too dry. And I think we're probably going to come up on a drought season here for 5-10 years before too awful long. Next year or two, we'll see the drought really kick in. That's the usual cycle, right? Whenever people started coming out here, turn of the past century, 1907, 1908, they actually made Oklahoma state. They were coming out to Kansas and Oklahoma because this was the tall grass prairie. Grass grew really well here, and they discovered that certain grass grains like wheat grew really well here too. And this was the time and age whenever the United States had a lot of people eating wheat and growing wheat. Corn was not the big thing. Corn was what you fed to the animals. You grew a little bit of sweet corn. Maybe you had corn tortillas, corn chips, that sort of thing in the 1950s or so. After Ignacio made the corn tortilla famous with his particular invention down there on the Army base in Texas. You guys are familiar with Ignacio, right? Ignacio was a guy who worked in the kitchen in the Army base, the women's club or the officers club, and the ladies would gather together, and the officers' wives would gather together and socialize. And one afternoon they were there, and the kitchen had already closed, and Ignacio was cleaning up, and one of the ladies asked him if he could prepare something for him. He said, well, the kitchen's closed, and like, oh, I'll throw something together. I'll see what I can do. And he went into the kitchen, and he came back out with a plate of corn tortillas they cut up into wedges, fried, dusted with a little bit of salt, served it up with some cheese and salsa and stuff like that. And they tried it, and they said, oh, this creation of Ignacio's is really delicious. It was Ignacio's, you see. And that's where they came from. Nachos. They were made by Ignacio's little creation. Am I rambling? I'm rambling. All right. So anyway, if you're down there in Texas, you can get away with growing a few fig trees and maybe even leave them outside. But these ones that Lisa brought me, really good, really hardy. They don't die in the winter here. So who knows? I don't know if I'd want to try them out there in the Texas Panhandle, but if somebody's living out that way, we might send you some and see if they make it. Let's see. Lisa said, why don't we go dig up the rest of the mother fig tree together, knock it out in a day? We can divvy up and keep whatever. That's a plan. Get in touch with me later on, and we'll work out a day that we can go do it. Because I know the lady that owns the plant doesn't want it, and it's a good plant, good fig tree. We might even slap a label on it and trademark it. Who knows? You can see them. Bindweeds, a wild morning glory, terrible invasive. Looks like a white morning glory. So some of these things, it's hard to find the blessing in them, right? But the thorny plants that we get and the weeds that we get, they're all resources. I guess maybe the resource that morning glory is, it's pretty to look at. And maybe the butterflies and the hummingbirds like it. But of course, this is not a good time of the year for hummingbirds to be eating morning glory flowers. Right now, they're eating on the sage, actually, the sage flowers that we have. And a little bit later, they'll be eating out of the red canna, a lot of those. And I think that's about the time that the morning glory comes out. So we're not going to need the morning glory. Oh, it's just like playing whack-a-mole, huh? Spent 3 years fighting bindweed, almost under control. Then honeysuckle went crazy. We can say many plants can be invasive. That's why mints are grown in containers. Now, I like mint. This tea that I'm drinking, it's green tea with cinnamon. I put cinnamon in the kettle to boil the water, and then I took a little sprig off the top of one of my mint plants, and a little sprig off the top of one of the bee balm plants, and crushed that up and put it in the tea ball and brewed the tea. So it has bee balm, monarda, cinnamon, mint, and no sugar. I'm putting honey or anything in it. It's just yummy. I also planted bugle flower everywhere. Rose is saying that's a densely planted and well managed, bare minimum 3,000 square foot. I bet. Yeah, you gotta make it tight. I use this as a foundation for that. If you guys haven't seen it, it's live stream collaboration I did with Gregory Allison at Green Greg's Garden and Worm Farm. NASA engineer, guy that did the Halo project, working on universal habitat. We're talking, space colonization. So we talk about some fun stuff like how do we put together a functioning ecosystem if we have to, make it off of the planet. So we have to really get into and understand why everything works the way it works to get to the point where we can move it somewhere off of the planet. The very first Biosphere project, we're on Biosphere 2 now in I guess in Arizona is where you can go find this place. The very first one fell apart for a couple of reasons. Some of it was social, but also because there were just the things that we didn't know. We didn't even know the things that we didn't know when we started on the Biosphere project. People went inside a sealed environment with the plants that they were going to grow and survive off of, all the things that they needed to survive, as if they were on one of these generational starships traveling at sublight speeds in between this planet and the next one, wherever you're going to launch your colony at. Because if we're going to do it, we're going to have to figure out a way that people can survive and take the basics of life with them and get started at the new colony, wherever that is. And then they discovered that the microbes in the soil were consuming oxygen. And they hadn't accounted for the microbes in the soil consuming oxygen. So they eventually had to break the containment and introduce additional oxygen to the project. And then people had interpersonal problems and all kinds of fun stuff happened. And they had to scrap it. Now, Biosphere 2 is a little bit more concentrated on finding out those things that we didn't know in the first one, instead of launching outwards with the arrogance and thinking, well, we've got it down. We just, we plant a few plants, we grow them for food, they make air, everything's going to be fine. It's not quite that easy. So yeah, I started out with the assumption we're going to use corn, and I picked out, things like the big horse spotted corn or Cherokee white eagle, that kind of corn, the kind of corn that I'm growing anyway. And we do that in a layered planting, much like I showed in the sowing annuals in layers. Of course, I'm doing that on the septic drain field, so I can't use peanuts. Otherwise, I would use peanuts in conjunction with corn. Absolutely. I'm using peanuts in conjunction with canna lilies in other spots, which, corn's a nice carbohydrate. I guess everything can eat it. The canna lily is a nice carbohydrate. We can eat it. And of course, the peanuts make our protein and also the oil to cook in, all that good stuff. But using beans and corn and peanuts and things like that, planting in layers, you can get enough calories out of that space. And I've made another discovery, particularly in the case of the cannas. When I dig those up in the fall, I'm left with a bare patch, but we have enough warmth here. And if I create microclimates with cloches or that's a bell jar, or cold frames, I can get the rice seeds started in those patches, bare earth. I put the rice seeds in there, get them started, and then in spring, whenever I'm ready to plant the canna in again, I can remove the rice from that spot, move it out to the rice paddies, plant them in nice little plugs in the rice paddies, flood the rice paddies so nothing else can grow there. And we get our rice too. So we'll have the rice growing on one side of the house And of course, that's another staple crop that we get to grow, that we get to get started, at least in that one spot. Learn the hard way about mint and comfrey in the garden. Oh, comfrey will take over, won't it? This dock, curly dock, it takes over too. This is one of the reasons why I'm turning green. My face is turning green. I'm going to disappear. All right. Let me see here. The dock likes to take over too. It's not really a bad thing because it's edible. If the comfrey is good to eat, then harvest it, eat it. Hickory and willow starting to bloom. It's nice. Lisa says, "Are those sweet potatoes in a litter box or a salad box?" This is one of those. It's one of those little trays that you get from the dollar store. So just a little plastic dollar store tray. And we pick these up whenever you can still get them for $1. Actually, this is not just one; it's two. It's two nested inside of each other. So it's like that. We got this one on the bottom, or this one on the top has holes drilled in it, so that the excess water can drain out. And the bottom just catches the excess water. So if you lift it up and there's moisture in the bottom, then you don't need the water anymore. It's sub-irrigated. I use a tray set up like that to get ginger started and turmeric as well. Although our turmeric is not growing, and I'm going to have to go back out and get some more. Let's see. Mary says, used to be a garden in every yard when I was a kid. That's right. And back during the last Great Depression. Back during the last Great Depression, this is the time and age whenever people were growing gardens. Unfortunately, we had the Dust Bowl at that time, so that was that period in time whenever Granddad Conrad came down from Kansas and said, "Hey, let's grow in Oklahoma." Middle of the Dust Bowl. Starts getting to work on developing methods to prevent soil loss. Fun times. Melody is here. Bake a Leg and Let's Dig It Homestead. Guys, check out Melody's channel. I'm serious. If you want to know how to grow a lot of food in a tiny amount of space, this is the lady to follow right here. Bake a Leg and Let's Dig It Homestead. Redson, if you're in the cities, at least know where you're going to go. I'm going to really need to do that video. It's like because the prepper channel that was doing this talking about your very first survival garden really meant well, but also really didn't have any idea about what he didn't know. So somebody used to tell preppers about starting their first garden, and a couple of things you need to know is if you're not practicing, you're not ready, because you don't know anything about what your soil is going to produce until you actually get down there and start planting seeds in the soil. So having a big crate full of 25 different varieties of tomato and 10 different varieties of corn and 15, 16 varieties of bean, a few lettuces and stuff like that. And you're sitting here going, well, I don't know what the nutritional value of any of this stuff is. One, I don't know what I need to do to grow it. I don't know if it's going to grow well in my soil. And then having a limited number of each seed, so you can't really grow that many. It's a great big seed sampler, but you pay way too much for it. Some stuff in there is not going to grow in your growing zone. I mean, these seed vault packages, they're just a whole bunch of different seeds thrown together, packaged, sold in bulk, and they're for different growing zones. They're not necessarily for your specific zone. It's a way that people can repackage old seeds and make money off of it, is what it is, and they're taking advantage of people that don't know any better. All right. Finding issues with clay, issues in our soil, organic matter and pelletized gypsum or sheetrock, and getting water on it, all good stuff to get rid of clay. But of course, you're up in Illinois, so you've got an advantage. At least you're not down there in Southwest Texas. Southwest Texas with that concrete caliche. M Dog here. Hello, everyone. Hello, M Dog. Let's see. Mary said, everybody loves Mel. Best square foot gardening. I mean, he does a really good job of demonstrating how to do it. M Dog says, literally finished my first backyard garden right there. Planted some tomatoes, corn, and watermelon. Get you broken in good. Tomorrow we're going to do another trench and run some cucumbers. Yeah, gardening gets addictive. It gets once you've tasted food that you grew yourself. There's just something about it. It's like, once you get into this and you're saving your own seeds, and you're like, wait a minute. I've got this land over here that's doing nothing other than being a place to grow weeds or that I have to mow, and I could be growing my own food and saving money off my grocery bill. It's addictive. Your the food you eat winds up being better for you, and you wind up saving money. It's like win-win. And Vicky's dropping some wisdom on us tonight. Says dahlias like cannas were originally grown for their edible tubers. I didn't realize the tubers are edible. They're not bad sized either. Those dahlias I was planting, they were bigger around than my thumb. They were not quite fist sized, but maybe half the size of my fist. The tubers were, and each plant had about 3 or 4 of those on there. So I just planted those down there. I guess they're going to get bigger, and we can do root divisions and all kinds of fun stuff later on. I'll have to experiment with those. I don't think I'm going to have enough to really play around with eating this year. I don't know. We'll see. I didn't realize that the canna were going to make such huge roots whenever I planted them. It's become so addictive. I even planted in the driveway. That's right. Stinking driveways. Chewy's asking what the best hydroponic solution is for cucumbers. I don't really do a lot of hydroponics, but I know some people who are good with it. You try Grow Something with Jeff, who does an awful lot of cucumbers that I know of. Actually, yeah, Growing Something with Jeff would be my recommendation for checking out cucumber growing and solutions and all that good stuff. You're saying, yep, purple sweet slips. We're talking about the Murasaki purple or the Okinawa sweet potato. I've got enough Murasaki, but I'm not sure if my Okinawa sweet potatoes are going to make it. They're looking a little, yeah. They've been outside and they haven't been liking the weather, which makes me wonder: do I want them? I mean, I need the stuff that can grow here, but the Murasaki is doing good. Aerodoc's asking, Hopi Blue, the corn, it's called Big Horse Spotted Corn, and Hopi Blue is one of its descendants. So if you wanted Hopi Blue corn, then you can breed it out of the corn that I'm growing. I'm growing the oldest variety of corn possible, the most diverse genetics I can get. Let's see. So Hopi Blue seed is expensive. Yeah, I've got some nice black corn and red speckled, which is kind of cool. It's every so often the Big Horse Spotted Corn will throw out this ear of this dark burgundy red corn with speckles in it, or almost purple to the point where it's almost black, and those are kind of special. After about a year or two of saving those up, I'll be able to plant a couple of rows that are specifically that, and then they'll crossbreed and keep the genetics going. Hit me up whenever you're ready to make a day of it. All right, lunch. I will not turn down lunch. Lots of fig tree and 7B in Georgia. 3 in your yard. Are they growing back from? Okay, see, this is the thing. Oklahoma is 7A on paper. It says 7A, but then whenever winter comes, we have Manitoba type winter. February will hit, and you'll know that things aren't normal on the prairie. It gets too cold for a lot of figs down here, even though the summers are fine. We have like zone 9, zone 10 summer, and then winter is zone 3. Not the entire winter, just a few days, long enough to kill certain plants, and most figs don't make it. I think Lex is going to do some blue popcorn. Wow, that's cool. TA says I could only live solo in a solo biosphere. I'll tell you what, living too close to people will drive you nuts. We're social creatures, humans, right? But we're not meant to live on top of each other. You have to be able to get away from each other every now and then. Yeah, I don't predict good things for the Mars colony. To say if you can't have someplace where you can go and you can get away from all your crazy neighbors, then it's just not worth it. Hey, I'm coming up. Well, shoot, I can't stay on too long. I went 3 hours a couple of weeks ago, and I'm doing the free stream here. You can tell from that little thing up there. Steel raws coming in late. Comfrey is medicinal and is used to feed livestock. Yeah, you can use it for that. It does take over, though. It takes over. Atmospheric and aerosol injection program isn't helping. Yeah, the surface area of the planet is too freaking massive, guys. It's not going to work. You can't mine that much sulfur dioxide or whatever it is that they're putting up. You can't produce enough of the stuff that they're aerosolizing and spraying for geoengineering for it to actually have any noticeable effect. But you can spend an awful lot of money on the boondoggle. It's a really big planet. Less swords and more plowshares. You know, that's true. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Can't find yarrow up there? I'll get you a couple cuttings and ship them to you maybe here in a bit. I've got one that's taken off. It's probably going to need dividing before too awful long. We'll see. Maybe not this year. Maybe next year. I'm going to have to spread them around. The gophers have been eating them, so it's kind of a battle to get enough yarrow propagated to keep up with the attrition from the gophers. And I don't want to put it in the into the gopher-proof beds because I've already got enough stuff crammed in there. There we go. Unlimited chocolate milk, elderberry, horseradish, and comfrey. I could sell, trade, or give away. They're all quite competitive. Yeah, all of those are really great to grow because it's hard to kill them. If you're a lousy gardener like I am, these are great plants because they're so hard to kill. We have horseradish started in the gopher-proof beds as well this year. Mary's thinking rainforest makes its own rain. Well, there is that thing that once you get going up to 10, 15% soil organic matter, you've reduced the amount of watering that needs to be done to 10%. So imagine if you're someplace like New Mexico, large amounts of the state, you're getting 20 inches of rain a year, and they have about 200 days for a growing season. So they're getting close to having the right amount of rain, but just like here in Oklahoma, it doesn't all come at the right spots or right time. So you have to do things to capture that rain, hold it in the soil, and increase your soil organic matter. You do that, and even the desert starts blooming. It's kind of cool. This is true. I'm a horrible gardener. Mary knows. I'm gonna pick at the sides of my mouth for some reason. I don't know. I think it's the cinnamon that's making me itch. That's right. I grow weeds that you can eat because I'm a horrible gardener. I got sick and tired of planting things that want to die in the yard and die in the garden. So the heck with that. Let's find stuff that wants to grow, that's edible, and then that's what we grow, right? Every person in your neighborhood, one edible perennial. I came up with a plan a while back. It's like every year for your kid's birthday or for yours, or once a year, go out there and plant a tree. And broke it down. It's like one tree if it's a canopy tree, two trees if they're understory, four if they're shrubs, and then so on and so forth. And to the point where if every year you do this, by the time your child turns 18 and is ready to be on their own, you can go, son, daughter, there you go. You've got enough right there to feed you and a small family for the rest of your life. As long as you continue to do what we've taught you how to do, you will never go hungry. Your children will never go hungry. And then it spreads out from there. We can do this. Very easy. Just once a year, you plant something. I don't know if I'm going to get to the bottom of comments. Oh, good Lord, there's so many. Drops showed up. Hello, Drops. Looking at broadleaf plantain if you're in the South. Broadleaf plantain is wonderful. I got introduced to broadleaf plantain when I was 8 years old. So many wonderful things happened to me when I was 8 years old. When I was 8 years old, I was out there in the woods near Tahlequah with my uncle, the crazy one, mind you, and he belonged to I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so he belongs to a club where they built their own. I don't know if you can see that little scar on the back of this knuckle or not. I have a little scar running right there, and for a while there, it ran across the ring finger, the middle finger, the index finger, and I think I had a little tag end of it right there on the thumb too. I'll tell you the story. So crazy apple, the one that you don't want to leave the kids with, belonged to a club where they built their own black powder rifles and went out there into the woods and shot them, and they did, we're going to be mountain men for a weekend or a week or however long it was, and the club met out there in the woods and they were going out every day looking for game to shoot. And that's where I had rattlesnake for the first time and dog for the first time because that's what they found running wild in the woods. Of course, they had rabbit and squirrel and everything else too. And they were building a shed for them to meet in. So it was a big pole barn with a corrugated steel roof that they were putting on there. And I wanted to see what was going on. So I climbed up a cedar tree that was right next to where they were erecting this shed. Big, huge shed. We're not talking small one. It's a big pavilion. You can fit 40 or 50 people in their bedrolls underneath there with the tables and everything, long haul, all that good stuff. And they were putting this sheet metal roof up on there. And I climbed up this cedar tree to look. And so I climbed up the cedar tree, and just like the squirrel here, I thought, oh, what's going on? What's going on? And I was right at that point where I could see what was going on up on the roof. And they cut a piece of that sheet metal and dropped it. And it went sliding down the roof. And I can watch it come down the roof, having a slow motion. It was flying off the edge of the roof, comes out and smacks my hand right there. Chunk! And the first thing I did was drop out of the tree. It was about 10, 15 feet. No problem. Hit the ground running. Screaming my head off. I'm screaming my head off. And I ran around like a chicken with a bad haircut for about, I guess, 5 minutes before finally I got to the back of the old El Camino. So now this is how long ago this was, when I was 8 years old. Back to the old El Camino with the tailgate down, sat down on the tailgate and went, and I sat down. And when I looked down, I realized that the little cavities in the bottom of the tailgate were filling up with blood because that piece of sheet metal had dang near severed two of my fingers whenever it hit. It just barely missed the knuckles. If it had been just a millimeter off, I'd be walking around like this, I suppose. And maybe like this, which makes playing a guitar rather difficult. Not that I can play really all that well anyway. So one of the fellows there, and later on we found out that he was actually an undercover agent for the ATF. But one of the fellows who was there, his name was John Bear, or that's the name that he was going by, full blood Cherokee, went and got the necessary herbs that he collected And he did it the old-fashioned way. He put them in his mouth and chewed them up and slapped them on there, wrapped a cloth around it and said, there you go, it's good. 3 days later, we went back to civilization. And by this time, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't had any proper medicine on this at all, right? There's no antiseptics, no stitches, no nothing, just a cloth and some stuff that a guy chewed up and slapped on my hand. Part of that was broadleaf plantain, incidentally. And then we took the gauze off, and it's like, oh, there's no infection. The wound's healed up, or it's closed up. It hasn't, completely healed up, but it's closed up and well on its way to being healed. No additional measures were really necessary, and I didn't lose any fingers. I got to use my hands, and I gained a lot of respect for medicinal herbs from that particular incident. Broadleaf plantain was one of those things got chewed up and slapped on my hand. Let's see. Wait, did Jeff show up? I was just talking about Jeff. Oh, Jeff Huntley. Okay. All right. I was talking Grow Something with Jeff is a channel up there in the frozen north that does aquaponics. Anyway, Jeff Huntley says, hey, just watch your barrel of urine and sticks video. That one was fun. Really great method for taking your waste stream. The urine that you have. You get 2 liters if you're an adult every day. There's about 10 grams of urea in that. Urea is, of course, the fertilizer that we're in short supply of, and you can convert your own urine into urea using that method. And you don't have to go through the entire process of extracting the crystals in order to use it as a fertilizer. You can just side dress with that stuff out of the barrel after it's been cooking for a year, and it works great. All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, Jeff. Don't work too hard. For a minute there, I thought we had Grow Something with Jeff in the house. Ha! Heard me talk about him. Let's see. All right, drops. I'll check out Samantha Lee's originals. I have to go see. I'm gonna have to go search for that. Celery's planted in the same in-ground garden up there. I've just planted what is it called? Lovage, which is a perennial substitute for celery. Levisticum. Can't remember what the speciation name is. Still saying Texas has approximately 2 million wild hogs. Open season, no limit for now, anyway. Tell you what. The younger ones are better. Big old hogs get kind of nasty. Jeff's saying 1 part urine and 25 parts water. You can actually use it immediately. I've seen some people doing this. Scott Head did it not too long ago. I think it was last year. He did a little side-by-side comparison. Miracle Grow in one, urine diluted water in the other, and yeah, you couldn't tell the difference. Could not tell the difference because it is urea. As long as you don't lay it on too thick, you don't burn your plants, you'll be fine. And we just planted the lovage. So we got the seeds, we put the seeds in, and it grows up and it puts up two little narrow cotyledons at first, and then it'll get big. But it'll get up to 6 foot tall eventually. Probably this year, if we're lucky, it'll get 2 to 3 foot tall, and then next year they'll get bigger than that. So I'll have to figure out where we're going to keep them full time. Let's see. Traps for hogs. Easier than hunting them. Yeah, there's somebody says, why do you need a 30-round magazine? Because have you ever seen hogs? Do you want to just anger a couple of them and have them charging at you and have no way of defending yourself? Yeah, lovage is a bush. It gets big. It'll get really big, 6 foot tall and about as wide, unless you spend a lot of time keeping it pruned back. But that's a lot of celery, and it has more celery flavor than regular celery does to begin with. So a little goes a long way. One or two in your garden is about all you're going to need. I would have two. That way, if something happens to one of them, you've got to back up, and you can always get a new one started from cuttings or plant seeds and get another one seed started. But hey, guys, it is almost 9 o'clock. I've been on here for about an hour and a half. I just wanted to show you guys some of the wonderful blessings that we've got coming in the way of the fresh strawberries, the mushrooms that are coming on, these wild plants that are growing all around us. So even if you didn't have anything going, there's still food out there if you know where to look. We're living in this new age of wonders, and I wanted to spend some time going into this one particular website with you. So I'm just going to drop a couple links before I take off. This is a website called Plants for a Future, and I went ahead and I'm going to just go ahead and grab the links for those plants that we talked about and put them in here so you guys can look at them at your leisure. Leisure or leisure? My English friends would say leisure. There we go. Let's have a look at these guys. Plants for a Future, of course, great website. And if you just have a look through there, you can go in, find your zone, find the growing conditions that you're going to be dealing with, and you can look through and sort through the different plants that are available, and then you can start looking for the things you want to try adding to your garden. Heterodox says, eat well, get your hands in the dirt. Absolutely, that's excellent advice. We should all do it. And I want to thank you very much for joining us tonight. As always, if you found the video informative or entertaining, you know what to do. Guys, I will catch you next time.